Welcome to episode 1 of the Bannon Cricket Podcast. Guys, it's been a long journey getting here. Those who have been following me along for the past 6 months. The podcast is finally up and running. This is episode 1, and we're here. This is it. So at this point, as I'm even recording this episode now, we've pre-recorded 5 episodes with 5 guests. So they're going to be locked and loaded, ready to go, preceding this episode. And this episode here is going to be I'm calling it like origin story, kind of how I got here to this point, and then my journey through cricket, how I grew up playing cricket, and then how I got all the way to being pretty much this point the most viewed cricket content creator on TikTok, one of the biggest cricket content creators here in the USA. And it's been one heck of a ride. And it has had a bit of a delay. This was probably due to come out probably a month earlier. But one of the big things that happened over here, one of the big explanations that I want to put out here, is that sometimes on your journey, people are going to want to try to stop you from chasing your dreams. So throughout this journey, I have been covering cricket over the past 6 months since Pakistan were defeated by the USA. Up until that point in June, I hadn't really thought about cricket for many, many years being here in the States. And I woke up that morning and my whole feed was covered with everyone talking about how Team USA had defeated Pakistan. And honestly, my original thought was, wait, we have a cricket team? I didn't even know America had a cricket team. I didn't know there was a Team USA. No clue at all. And as soon as I saw that, I went to the comment section. I'm looking at all these different videos. And the biggest thing was people saying the same thing as me. We have a team. What do you mean you play cricket? And then the next thing was, how do you play? I didn't even know how to play. Didn't know we have a team. So at that point, I literally had the day off work that day. I just turned on the camera and filmed the very first episode, which was Cricket Explained. Cricket, it's kind of like baseball. And the original video was about 12 minutes long. I did it all in one take, and I edited it down to just over 8 minutes or so. Took out the first intro that I had for it, and then clipped it all together, couple of zoom in, couple of zoom outs, and then uploaded it. And within a few hours, it had gotten thousands of views. And then within 48 hours, it had close to 1 million within like 48 to 72 hours. It was kind of nuts. So that's kind of where it started for me back in June of last year. And then everything had been hopefully building to me, kind of like making this, I'd like to make this kind of a career and an opportunity for me to make a living from covering cricket, doing content creation, doing the commentary. The commentary is what I love the most about cricket, especially here in the US, because not many people here have born with a bat in their hand. I kind of like to say I was born with a bat in my hand. Been playing cricket all my life, and cricket it's been such a big part of my life. Been able to travel around the world. I'm going to get into all of that soon. But the thing is that as I've been going through this journey, I hit a big peak. Like I was very successful in the start. My coverage of the World Cup and my coverage of the MLC got over 12 million views. My coverage on TikTok, which is pretty much, as far as I'm aware, the most viewed content creator for cricket inside of the US. And then my other content, I've posted a lot of stuff about rugby and golf and covered a little bit of the Olympics and explained some of the USA-Australia rivalry stuff. But the cricket's been the main thing for me. And in my getting ready to launch the podcast, what happened is that Cricket Australia actually reached out to me, okay? And it's not in the way that you would hope, because what happened is and the sad thing about this, it was Cricket Australia basically have come after me. They've tried to shut me down, okay? Cricket Australia is not happy with the content that I've been putting out. They hit me with not one, not 2, but 33 copyright strikes, okay? And this is a legit personal attack, because I sent my content to my lawyer and I said, hey, listen, here's the content that I'm making. The Cricket Australia are claiming that I've breached copyright of theirs. And my lawyer was like, this is the biggest joke I've ever seen in my life. You know how many, he's a big sports fan. He's like, you know how many clips I see of people clipping NFL or clipping football or clipping baseball or clipping whatever, and hockey, posting it, and those people aren't falling under copyright infringement, because you have what's called, you have oh my goodness, the word is forsaking me right now, but basically you have free use. So there's the term that you can use where copyright, you can use copyrighted material if you're editing it or doing other things other than just posting it directly. The fair use laws here in America protect people from this kind of thing. And how we know this is a personal attack on me personally and my personal brand is because I shared my success on LinkedIn. So I have a LinkedIn profile and I follow a bunch of creators that also share their success and how their businesses are growing through social media. And I'm actually a social media marketer, so that if we go backtrack a little bit behind me, if you're watching on the film, you're going to see the two books in the background behind me here. So I'm actually a published author. I had a huge YouTube channel. I grew the channel from 10,000 to over 600,000 subscribers in 4 years. And I took everything I learned from my YouTube days as being a professional YouTuber into the marketing scene, advertising scene, and help companies grow their brand. So when I launched the cricket thing, I have the knowledge of how to grow a little faster than most people, which was why I was able to get to like 10K in about, it was a thing, maybe 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks, something like that. I grew to 10K quite quickly. And I posted my success on LinkedIn, trying to find sponsors and trying to get connected with people in the MLC, people in Cricket USA, and all the cricket associated nations and associations around the world, because my goal is to be a commentator for Team USA. So I posted my success, and on LinkedIn, I don't know if you guys have ever used LinkedIn, but you can actually see who views your profile. And within 48 hours of that post being posted on LinkedIn, I received, again, 33 copyright violations from Cricket Australia directly. On TikTok, it very clearly says who the copyright infringement sanction is from. It says they're very clearly Cricket Australia, and they took down every video that I made from the Border Gavaskar Trophy. So I actually covered, as a sports journalist, the Border Gavaskar Trophy. They took down every video that I made of the Border Gavaskar Trophy, except for the one video where I openly criticized Cricket Australia, because in copyright law, as I found out through my lawyers and everything like that, you're actually able to openly criticize someone and they're not allowed to call copyright infringement. My commentary, they deem to be infringing on their copyright, because all of my videos, if you've you guys been following, are I clip a clip from the cricket and then I superimpose myself or green screen myself over the top, and then I explain or break down the highlights of the game, and that in itself is creating a whole new piece of content. And it's just interesting how different organizations have viewed my content, because Cricket Australia took a stance on, we want to shut this man down. We want to demonetize him. Those videos got like 2 million views. I had 2 million views on my coverage of that. And I am doing them essentially a favor, promoting cricket in the USA. I am a dual Australian USA citizen, and no one in America can watch cricket unless you're purchasing the apps, which Cricket Australia own. They're partnered with Willow. They partner with KO, I think Creo, I think it's called, whatever that other app is. And Cricket Australia had record-breaking numbers for streams across the Border Gavaskar Trophy, and you have to chalk up some of that to content creation from people that are spreading it around the world. They had the most downloads, they had the most streamed series ever, okay? And I'm out here putting out free content. Cricket Australia ain't paying me, and I'm getting pennies from TikTok to promote it, but still, they went and shut down 33 of my videos. Now, on the flip side of this, there are people inside of the industry that were very, when they found me, were like, oh, wow, look at this guy. He's making awesome cricket content. And that has led into opportunities now where I can announce that I will be working with the Seattle Orcas, the American Major League Cricket side, this season. So they saw my videos, and instead of them shutting me down and saying you can't use our content, they actually were like, hey, how about you come and work for us and help us put some videos out to promote the Orcas and promote MLC and promote USA Cricket for 2025. And I'm like, absolutely. So this is where you see like my content has it's up, the organizations have a choice. They can actually work with me to make content, or they could work against me and demonetize me. And it just goes to show, like, this is one of the reasons why I left Australia, is because Australia is one of those people where you're not that free. It's not like sometimes they just go out. Australians are big on trying to cut down people's needs, like cut them down. Anyone that's kind of growing and getting big, they kind of try to cut them down and kind of bring them back to base. So, but here in America, I had nothing but love, but from American fans wanting to learn more about cricket. And the cricket American organizations have been reaching out to me to come work for them. There's also another company called Grandstand. They're an athletic app that is trying to work with different athletes and build to do social media for them. They have reached out to me. Other streaming services have reached out to me. And so it's been this weird back and forth, which is why the podcast has been delayed, because essentially I haven't wanted to post anything about Australian cricket on my TikTok because afraid that Cricket Australia is going to break down and demonetize another video. And for some reason, I also want to shout out to you guys while I'm doing through this. I'm getting a lot of love in the chat here on TikTok. We're streaming live on TikTok during this podcast. Everyone's streaming in, giving hearts and gifts. I really much appreciate it there, guys. Yeah, and so I've stopped posting and I'm focused on the next phase of my brand, which is this, the podcast, owning the content so that Cricket Australia or any other organization can't shut me down, and having a membership site. So this episode is, well, the first episode of the podcast, but it's also, I'm going to be exposing you guys to the new membership site. So what I am launching for 2025 is what's called the Adam Bannon Inner Circle. So the Inner Circle is going to be a membership where you guys can be a part of a community where you are able to give discussion on the podcast and then essentially be on the show. So there's 3 tiers of the membership. Essentially, one part is just donating, where you can donate $10 a month. You're helping create the channel. You're help pay for everything, the streaming services, cameras, equipment, lighting, sound. And I do get a lot of messages, DMs, people like, how can I support you? Love the channel. How can I support financially? Instead of us putting up like a Zelle or a Venmo or PayPal or whatever, I want to build out this community inside of the podcast and have it grow and be sustainable, so that if I do get demonetized, I'm able to put the content into a platform that I own. So this platform will end up becoming an app. So you'll be able to essentially go to the app, get all the videos, get all the podcasts, get all the episodes, have it all in one place. That obviously the videos will all go up on Spotify, they'll go up on YouTube. But essentially, if YouTube or Spotify or TikTok gets banned, that I have control over the episodes and they're in one place, then that I control them. So that's the main purpose of the membership. And then the next tier is a tier where $20 a month, you're going to be able to get a dedicated video. So people ask me a lot for videos. Hey, can you make a video on the Pakistan cricket team? Can you make a video on this? Can you make a video on that? And getting myself spread very far is like very possible here. There's many things I can make cricket videos about. And some of the stuff, like I said, now I have to be careful with, because Cricket Australia, I can't put any of their content that they're broadcasting into the video. Like, most of my video highlights are actual videos from the game. So I take USA Cricket's highlights, or I did the Nepal series, and Nepal was so fantastic. Everyone loved the Nepal series videos. I had a lot of following from Nepal through that time period. But if I want to make a video, I can then put it onto a private channel, so then I haven't got to worry about copyright infringement, anything like that, if I am going to use clips from the video or break it down. Because some of the stuff I was doing was cricket breakdowns, breaking down technique. That's something that I'm very excited about doing, because in this year I'll be moving into cricket coaching. So that's also something really cool. And then I have a financial backing tier, which is obviously a much, much higher tier, because people do want to really support and the growth of the channel. So I'd like to be able to do this more full time. So the membership is coming, and the membership is going to be able to have early access to the podcast. So once a week, I'm going to release the podcast on YouTube and on Spotify. The membership's going to have access to all the pods. So right now I've filmed, this will be the sixth episode. This will be episode 1. I have 5 guests that I've already filmed with. So they'll have access to all of the filmed content right away. And then I'll drip out once a week the content to the public. So that's another thing of being part of the community. And then inside of that community, the second portion of the podcast is the What a Take podcast. So that's more my sports related podcast, where I'm going to be putting my opinions and content and thoughts on all the sports that I like. So not just cricket, but rugby league, golf, baseball, football, all the stuff that I like. It's basically like a hot take, hot mic scenario. And the goal for this is to have it kind of like, it's like feel like a radio show where if you're a member, you can call in or you can voice record in or leave a comment, and then that comes in the show. So it like feels like it's like the radio station where it's like, we're on the line with John. What's your take today, John, about the Champions Trophy? And he's going to say, oh, I thought this was good, this was bad, whatever. And then we're able to have a bit of a banter about that. That's what I would like to do with that portion of the podcast. So that's going to be in there as well. And you'll be able to, I can make dedicated videos for you. So if you're in that tier, I can make dedicated videos for you. And the highest tier, when you're a financial backer, you'll be on the show. So you want to be on the show, you can be a co-host, discuss the latest topics in cricket and also all the other sports that we're into there. So that's the membership thing, and it's coming up very soon. You guys can actually probably now, you can probably Google it. You can probably type in, it's adambantoncricket.com is where the hub is essentially going to be, where you can see the links to the inner circle, to the website, which will be coming soon. And then you can get the link to the podcast when I upload it on both Spotify and YouTube. So that's a little bit about that, episode 1, getting that out of the way. But then moving into the next section of the pod, we're going to be talking more about a little where I came from, a little bit of who am I. I do get a lot of questions about where I came from, how I got to the States. And I haven't really ever touched on my cricket journey, per se, how I got into cricket originally. So that's going to be this part of the pod. So rolling into this cricket for me started as a young kid in Australia. Now, cricket is probably the number 2 sport that kids get given when they're younger in Australia. Most kids play a little soccer, play a little football, but cricket everyone plays, whether it's Christmas Day or Boxing Day or whatever, you're out in the backyard playing backyard cricket, playing street cricket. And for me, my dad played cricket and his dad played cricket. So it was a big thing for me growing up. I first played under 10s. I believe it's under 10s for the first season that I played. And I remember my first memories of that was training with my dad in the backyard and getting kind of prepared to play my first game of cricket. I remember getting my first bat and my pads and my helmet and training in the backyard for months leading up to me going to play my first club game. And from the start, I essentially somehow, I don't know if I declared it or if my dad declared it, but basically we decided that I was going to be an opening batter. So for the Americans that are listening, the opening batter role is probably the hardest role in cricket. You have to go out and face the first pitch of the day, the first ball of the day, kind of like a leadoff hitter in baseball. But unlike in baseball, you get to come back in even if you strike out. Where in cricket, you don't get to come back in if you strike out. So I somehow chose to do that role. I don't remember if I chose or if my dad chose, but I became an opening batter. And on my very first game, I remember walking out onto the field and facing the very first ball. I chose to face the first ball, and I got out for a golden duck. Very first ball of the game in my very first ever club game of cricket, under 10s, LBW, plumb in the front. And I believe it was my mate Chad who ended up becoming good mates with me later in life. But he got me out LBW, first ball, golden duck. And I remember walking off being like, wow, I remember just being like, I trained so hard for this very, very first game, and then I ended up getting the golden duck. Obviously, I stuck with it. Okay, I stuck with it. That season, I don't remember too much of that season. Like I said, I was only 10 years old. I really only remember that game. I remember another game we played, and I believe it probably was even the next season. My next memory I have of playing cricket was, I believe, under 11s, and I was in a partnership that was over 100 runs. It was maybe 130 runs, 140 run partnership in under 11s. The guy I was batting with, Chad, he ended up coming onto my team for that next year. And we played in Swansea, in Newcastle there, and we put on over 100 run partnership together. I think I only scored like maybe 30 of the runs, maybe even 25 of the runs. He was very good. And that was my kind of like next memory I had. But that second year that I played cricket, we actually went all the way to the finals, and we were minor premiers. So we won the comp, and then we went to the grand final and we won. And The only memory I have of the grand final and winning my first ever championship is on the final ball. We were batting second. I don't remember how many runs we were chasing. All I remember is that I went out to bat. I didn't score many runs. I generally had an average playing junior cricket in those younger years of 29. That was my average. And I opened the batting, and generally my goal was just to see out the overs till drinks. Not get 30 runs, get the drinks, and then see off the new ball, and then have the bigger hitters come in. Because I wasn't a big hitter. I couldn't hit very far. I've only hit 3 sixes in my life. That's a story we'll get into later. But I was an opener, just like, good defense, very, very good defense, very hard to get out. I got out. My 3 top ways that I've gotten out in my career are caught behind, pulling off the glove. That's probably my number one, is hooking, short ball bouncer, down leg side, hooked off the glove. That's probably the first one. Second one is run out, because I was a big kid. I got run out quite often because I wasn't very fit and I couldn't run very fast. So coming back for a second or a quick single, if anyone other pushed me and I tried to run, I would generally probably get run out because I wasn't very fast. And then LBW is probably the next one. It was very rare that I ever got bowled. I only remember ever getting bowled once. That's in the next grand final that I get to, and maybe a leading edge to mid-wicket was probably the other one. But so my first ever grand final under 11s, I can remember we're down at there's a Martinsville Oval, Kurrambong. Shout out to anyone out there, Martinsville. We had 3 runs to win on the last ball, 3 runs to win. And I remember there was a steal. If you're from Australia, you understand. If you're from America, you may not understand. But around all cricket grounds in Australia, most popular grounds, there's this thick steel piping that runs around the barrier of the oval. And I just remember gripping that metal pipe and having my head pressed up against the pipe with my eyes closed as the opposing bowler ran in to bowl the final ball. And I just listened to what happened, because I didn't actually watch the final ball play out. I just listened to it. And so I heard Aiden, whatever the kid's name was, hit the ball. I hear everyone cheering. I hear everyone saying, "Run, run, run." We needed 3 to win. And I hear the audible of him coming back for the second run and end up drawing the game. So we draw the game. And back in those days, under 11s, this is like, I want to say, what is this? Maybe 2000, must be 2001-ish, I guess. There was no super over. There was no come back tomorrow and do it. We just actually had a legit draw. So both teams technically won. We both were awarded winners, and both were awarded a major premiership for winning on a draw. That's how it was back at under 11s in those days. So second year of the comp, we win or we draw, we win, we call it a win, we walk away winners. I end up with an average, like I said, an average of like 29 or so, opening the batting there. And then the next year, we roll into we win minor premiership again, and then we end up losing the final. And what happened in this year, that team that I was in during that time absolutely hated me, because I was such a defensive player. I didn't want to get out. Those days, if you're coming from baseball, you don't quite understand, because if the opening leadoff hitter gets struck out, well, then the next hitter comes in and you all kind of rotate through the 9 players. Everyone gets to have a hit. But in junior cricket, not everyone gets to have a hit. So if you're the opening batter, you obviously every week are guaranteed to bat every week. But if you bat at 5 or 6 or 7 or down the order, you may not even get a bat each week. And so my team started really hating me because I would never get out. I would be in there for most of the game. It was 30-over game. My goal was to always stay in there till the 15th over, and then I'd go for out the 15 overs. And in the semifinal, I think I stayed in the entire 30 overs. And they were just kind of sick at that point. Other kids, they went to the same school, went to a different school. They wanted to have a hit. And I was like, we're winning. We won the premiership again. I keep looking down the top of the order. We have the bigger hitters coming after me. We keep winning these games. We almost went undefeated. And then went into the final. At the final, they put me at 6. And lo and behold, we had a huge batting collapse at the top of the order because no one else could open the batting. I came in like the 20th over. And, had never batted 6 before. Had never chased down a total. In that first game, was the first game I ever got bowled because I skipped down the wicket trying to do something, trying to make something happen, and it clipped it off bail, and I was out. So for that point, I actually transferred teams. So I transferred to a new club the following year and started playing for the Warners Bay Cricket Club over there in Australia. And yeah, we played. We had a lot of good seasons. At one season, we played A grade, so we played first grade. Some of the other seasons, I think we played second grade. I don't actually remember, but a lot of good memories out there playing. And like I said, I opened the batting, and a lot of this kind of moved to kind of like the peak of my junior career was under 15. So we had made some semifinals, I believe, during there, or maybe even, we made mostly semifinals most years. And then during under 15s, that was when I actually got picked up to play. I applied for a academy squad. So I went to train for an academy squad, under 15s academy squad. And at that time, I wasn't playing representative cricket. So in my league, there was already a representative team. I hadn't been picked selected for the representative team, but I did go to the academy day to try out for the academy. And what was cool about the academy day is that it brought teams and players from different regions that I never actually played against, because the academy was like multiple region into one. So when I got there for the academy day, first question was like, who can open the batting? And I was like, it's me. I can open the batting. I open the batting every week. No one else put their hand up. So they're like, all the selectors, okay, you're going to open the batting, head into the nets. And at the time, there was a kid there that could bowl. He was 15, 16. They reckon that he could bowl 140 clicks at 16. He was like the prodigy. He was like the next best thing in cricket. And everyone had his hopes on him playing for Australia. And that was all the hype. And all I ever heard was this kid playing in the other league. And he was so fast, and he would get 5, 6, 7 wickets a game, and he was the next best thing. So I'd heard of him, hadn't played him because he played in the other league. So anyway, I go into the nets. I'm feeling really fresh. I'm hitting the ball really well, clean off the bat, having a really good net session. And you can see the selectors, they're all confused as to like who I am. They'd never heard of me or ever seen me, and they see me like batting quite well. So they take off this other guy, Ray, I believe his name was, the really quick guy. They take him from the other net, they put him in my net. And I'll just never forget the moment where he bowled his first ball. He just put the first ball in the slot, and I just hit it straight back over his head out of the net. Watch all the selectors turn their heads and watch this ball sail by, and they were just like, who the heck is this kid? And that rest of that session, I was just in the zone. Why don't you just tell me, sometimes you just get in the zone? I hit this guy every direction in the net, pulled him, hooked him, cut, straight drive, on drive, cover drive. There was nothing. I left a couple, but totally all over it. And so I come out of the net, and they ended up picking me for this academy side. And what they didn't know at that point, and one of the reasons why I'd never been selected for one of the state squads or one of the regional rep squads up until that point, was I was very, very unfit. Like I've mentioned already, very unfit guy. I was the big kid. So they picked me in the academy side just off my batting in the net from that one session. And so when I came back, the thing came out, the press came out the next day. Yeah, you've been selected in the team. Then you had to come back the next weekend for get your kit and everything and start the spring training or whatever it's called. So I come to that first training session, and they had basically a fitness test as the opener. Basically, they were doing standardized fitness testing, the beep test. I think you guys call it maybe something else here. So I went to do the beep test and failed hard, like not even close. Like I don't even think I made it to 7 on the beep scale at 15 years old. I was so slow. Like my 100-meter sprint at that time period was 17 seconds for 100 meters. That was my 100-meter personal best time. I had done little athletics since I was 5. My parents, they were sports coaches and little athletics coaches. So they didn't know how unfit I was. So that really put a dampener on my entire academy career. And it didn't go too far after that, because they basically then put me in a box of always unfit. And they took my, talent and was like, threw that out the window. Yeah, you have good hand-eye coordination and you're really good at not getting out, but you're unfit, so we're not going to really select you. And that was kind of like, that was just, I was just smiling. I still am just smile at the fact that like no one knew who I was. I got picked in the side off my talent. and no one judged me on how unfit I was. But yeah, that's as far as that went. But within that year, I got luckily enough, I got to go tour Sri Lanka. I got to go on a tour of Sri Lanka playing cricket. That was probably one of the best experiences of my life. My first time flying was actually flying to Sri Lanka. Singapore Airlines, flying over there to Singapore, then layover, then flying over to Sri Lanka, and getting to see a country that at that point, I mean, if you guys know anything about history or Sri Lankan history, anyone with Sri Lanka here, I went to Sri Lanka in 2005. Okay, 2005, Sri Lanka is in the middle of a war. Tamils and the Sinhalese are in the middle of a war. So it was kind of unbeknownst to me. I didn't really kind of know what was happening. I was 15. I was like, 10th grade or whatever. Didn't quite know the world was in that kind of spot. So you head over there, get out of the airport, and we were just met with a military presence. There are men everywhere with Uzis and machine guns. You get out of the airport, there's tanks, there's barbed wire. Looks something out of Normandy, something out of like World War II. It was an absolute eye opener. And then there was an armed guard every 30 meters on every telephone pole, all the way to the hotel. And we had an interpreter and someone with us. But it was quite an experience to see that, first time seeing a third world country. So anyway, we spent about 2 weeks traveling around. I played 5 games of cricket over there in Sri Lanka. I got to play at the SSG, one of the bigger grounds there, in nicer grounds there in Sri Lanka. And we got to play, Colombo, Kandy, some high school grounds, some just random parks we played in. One of the cool moments was when we were on the tour bus and we saw some kids playing cricket in a local park, and we just pulled up the entire bus and we all got off the bus and went there and just started playing with them. And within, 20 minutes or so, there was 100 kids there that were all in the field, and we were bowling to them and they were bowling to us. And we got to experience, playing in a nation where they didn't speak English, but they spoke the language of cricket. I think that was the really cool thing, is that we were able to share a game with someone that didn't speak our language, but they understood cricket. And going over there, cricket is like the number one sport. Like, it is the number one sport. It's like football to Americans. American football to Americans. It's like the Premier League to, the UK. But in India, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Bangladesh, like over there, cricket is where it is. Like, you see all like Sachin Tendulkar was on every billboard over there. He was the biggest name, or still probably is the biggest name in cricket over there, especially in that time. He was huge and is huge. And that's what it was like. And it was such a good time. We got to tour, go to tea farms and go to see, ancient ruins and statues. And it was such a great experience to play over there, which was awesome. And then, played a little more cricket up until, I think we play under 18 or under 17 or under 18s. I think it's called under 18s we played till. I was always the youngest in my grade, so I was still 17. I was always like 1 year behind the grade that I played, which was fine. I was in the same school year. But then one of the cool things about cricket over there, which Americans have been talking about the last few weeks on the Reverse Scoop podcast, is that when you play cricket, you actually get to play with the men. So at a certain level, like about 14, 15, you actually can go and play grade cricket with the men. So at 14, 15, I was playing open level cricket. So you got fully grown men, that are bowling 135, 140 clicks. You're 15 years old and you're actually versing them on the weekend. You play your junior game, then you go play the grade game after. And that was like, that really molds you as a person. It really develops you as a human. I think one of the things that like it has helped me, not helped me, but like shaped who I am as a person, that makes me like a little different than most people that I meet, is that like cricket is a situation where you have to test yourself every day. You have to like have patience. You have to be able to put the pressure on when you need to, and you only get one chance. And if you get out, you're out. So like having the ability to like hold your wicket and like hold your own and like push through the tough times is something that like has made me who I am. And I've always loved opening the batting and facing that challenge. I always think about how different, especially now, I think about how different it would have been if I didn't open the batting, how better of a batter I could have been if I batted at 4. because, you have less pressure on you batting at 4. You haven't got to go through that tough period watching the swinging ball, because that's where I specialize at facing the swinging ball, especially when the heat is really there, when it's moving both ways, when it's decking off the pitch. And then, that was kind of where I shined, and I just held the wicket down, held one end down, and got to have a lot of really cool partnerships, building big 100-run partnerships, what I really like to do. Normally, I was on the other end of not scoring the most part of those runs. I would only score the half of those runs. And then, so then I didn't actually score my first 100 until I was playing Opens cricket. I believe I was like 20 or 21. I can't actually remember what year it happened in, but I do remember I did score my first 100, and it's one of my favorite stories to tell, by scoring my first 100, because all my life, like I said, my dad was a cricket coach. He coached my sister's team, and he never really coached my team. So he was technically my coach. We'd come home. We actually had a cricket net in our backyard, a bowling machine in the backyard. So we would spend a lot of time drilling, practicing all the time. And I was always the person that was first to training, last to leave, first to the game, last to leave. And this moved to about when I was 20. I was playing we had a really good friend group. We weren't playing super high grade cricket. We had a nice friend group. It was really social, and it was a really good team that I was in. And I was a vice captain on the team. And that day, actually, we have to go back to the night before. The night before, we went out drinking. In Australia, you can go out drinking at 18. So it wasn't uncommon for, like, as soon as you finish high school, you go out partying every weekend. So this one Friday night, go out partying, out on the town all night. There's a really good public train system in Australia. So I was able to take a train home. Pretty sure I had mum or dad pick me up from the train station in like the early hours in the morning, like maybe 3 a.m. or something. Coming home, mates and we stayed up until maybe 6 a.m. I took a little bit of a nap, and then my mom had to wake me up because I was late for the game. At that point, I was like, there's no way I can drive. I'm pretty sure at this point I'm still hungover from the night before. I'd been up all night drinking. So my mom drives me to the game. I get to the game with maybe like 15 minutes till the game starts. Now, in my American life right here, that's regular. When I play cricket here in America, most people get to the game only 15 minutes before the game starts. In Australia, you only get to the game an hour ahead. I would always get to the game an hour ahead. This game, I'm late. I'm not dressed. I don't have my whites on. I don't anything. I'm like, just had to sleep in the car. Still a little bit hungover. Probably still a little bit drunk. Get out of the car. The other team is in our dugout trying to find the captain. Our captain's not there. So they're like, Adam, you got to go do the toss. So we'll go out there and meet pluggers, which is me flip-flops. I go out there, do the toss. I look around. I'm like, half our team isn't there. I'm not ready to. I would have been keeping. I'm like, there's no way I can keep. We haven't got a full side here. Let me just go out and bat, and I'll just stand at one end, and I'll sober up, and we'll get through the day. It'll all be good. So I win the toss. I put us into bat. I run off the field, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna have to go open the batting now. So put on me pads, get myself all geared up. I go out there, and it is shaky. The first couple of overs, I remember, so shaky. I'm swinging and missing. I'm leaving. I'm having a hard time out there. And then I guess I got my first run, and I just started doing my regular thing. I hit a couple of runs here, hit a couple of runs there, and the runs started accumulating. A couple of wickets fell the other end, still accumulating runs. And I was very superstitious. I would never leave the field if I was still batting. So I'd always make sure I stayed on the ground, and I would never check my score. That were my two superstitions. Well, as there are so many other superstitions, like which sock I put on first, which pad I put on first, which glove I put on first. But essentially, if I made it to drinks, I wouldn't leave the field. So I made it to drinks. At that point, I still hadn't scored a 50 because no one had cheered for me yet. So I made it. It was 35 over games. You had a drink at 15 overs. So I come off. I tell someone to run out a drink to me. I have my drink. I go back out to bat, and then within maybe 2 overs of the drinks break, they start clapping that I scored a 50. And I was like, oh, wow, I got a 50. That's great. Perfect. So I raise the bat, everything. And then soon after that, I get a full bunger. I get not a beamer, but I get a stomach high, full toss. Then I hook around the corner, and a bloke catches it on the boundary rope. And I turn to the umpire, and sure enough, he's got his arm extended out for the no ball. And I'm like, sweet, I've got a life. And at this point, my mate Pete was at the other end. And I always asked, at this point, I was like buggered. I was actually pretty tired being out there. Like I said, I was hungover. We had been running. I had scored 50-odd runs at this point. And I just told him, mate, just keep reminding me to breathe, mate. Keep reminding me to breathe. Keep telling me to suck in the big, deep breaths. And we'll just keep batting. So we keep batting. And at some point, he's like, you keep doing well. You're doing great. And I was hitting some fours. I was hitting plenty of fours. So I knew I was like getting close to the 90. Getting close to the 100. And what happened when I got to my 100 was, just before that, I didn't check my score. There was no scoreboards at this ground. And so, I was at this end, and a bloke bowls the ball down the leg side. I go to turn around the corner, and it hits my thigh pad. I miss it, hits the thigh pad, and it skims on down to fine leg. And the crowd, everyone in the crowd starts cheering. They're like, yeah, you got it. And then the umpire puts his arm up for leg buys and hits his leg. And they're like, you can hear them go, oh no. And at that point, I knew that I was on 99 runs. I didn't know until that point, but obviously I heard them cheering. They thought I'd got the single. So therefore I know I'm on 99 runs. That was the last ball of the over. So now I go to the other end. I now know I'm on 99 runs, and I'm very superstitious. I never wanted to know what run I was on. So I remember getting that first ball, and it was a half volley that I could have smashed down the ground, but I was like so too afraid to like swing too hard. So I just went for a nice front foot defensive kind of like punch shot, and there was no one there at mid-off. There was no one there at all. There was no one there for a country mile, and I was very well known for it even now. Like, I call very clearly. I'm very loud with my call. I'm very direct with my call. It's one call. I'm solid. This call was yes, no, wait, no, yes, run, yes. My other mate Pete was just like, stop, just run. So I ended up running. We made it. It wasn't even close. I just said way too many calls. I make it. I get my 100. It's my first 100. I think at that point they had called my old man. They called my old man to come from work. They got a hold of him. He came in. He was there for the thing. And then within the next few overs, I got to hit a six. So like I said, I don't hit too many sixes. The reason why I don't hit too many sixes is because my grandma, in Australia, if you never played backyard cricket, the rule is 6 and out. Okay, so that means that if you hit a home run, if you hit a six, you hit it over the fence in your backyard, you're out. I don't know why this rule exists. It kind of stops T20 cricketers. It stops people from hitting big shots. So as a kid, I wanted to bat as long as possible. Obviously, batting's the most fun. So I would never hit it over the fence, which means I would never hit a six. And my grandma would always say to me, if you can't get out if you don't hit the ball in the air, which also comes from Don Bradman. Don Bradman is a famous video of him when he's doing his breakdown of batting. He says he didn't hit many sixes in his career either because you can't get out if you don't hit the ball in the air. So I only ever hit the ball on the ground. All of my technique is mostly around hitting the ball on the ground unless you're doing a hook shot. So I finally I get this nice full ball right in the slot, and I hit this nice mid-on drive, hit it over the bowler's head, hit it for six. That was I think it was my second six at that point. I hit another six at another ground with a really short boundary behind me, hooking over my head for six. But I hit a six. I ended up with 116 runs that day, and that was just such an interesting day. I never got 100 again, and it was one of those things where I was hungover, drunk, got to the game late, hadn't prepared, hadn't warmed up, hadn't seen a throwdown, just went out there and batted, scored 100, and it was one of those days. So yeah, so for that point, I moved. I'm not sure how old. Like I said, I was probably 20, 21 at that point. I only had 2 or 3 more years of cricket. For the next year of cricket, I moved to a different club, and I played cricket with my dad. And that was something really cool. I got to play the next couple of years with my dad. He played open because it was opens cricket. You play, and you're basically over 18. You play, and then you have obviously the juniors come along and play with you as well. But it was awesome to play with my dad. We got to play in many games together. We got to bat together a few times. And then I won another championship with one of the clubs, Warners Bay. We won a Shield. Maybe in my second last season, we won a championship, and that was also cool. My dad got to be a part of that team with me, so that was really cool. And then basically at that point, like I had my career had taken a whole different thing. Like I was a chef. So at that point, I at left high school became a chef. So that really inhibited my ability to play a higher grade of cricket because I worked on the weekends. So Saturdays, Sundays are big hospitality days. I always worked the weekends. And as I started getting older, it was hard to get to cricket because that's when I work. And it's hard to get days off as a chef because that's when everyone's working. So I could wiggle it sometimes. I get to work a little bit late or right on time, but there was different employees I had during that time where it was hard to really play cricket. So then moving to America, when I moved to America, I started coming to America in 2015 is when I first came here. That's when I kind of gave up cricket. I didn't really expect cricket to be a thing here in the States. I didn't expect to find a cricket team. Ironically, though, I did find a cricket team here, and it's the team that I actually am, associated with now. It's the New Milford Cricket Club and the Danbury Cricket Club at that point where it would work together. And I just found something on Facebook. I was just searching for cricket near me, and I came across a guy who ran the local club here in Danbury. And I ended up getting like a celebrity game. I came and played a game, or I think I actually played 2 games for the club here in New Milford. And that was really interesting experience. I mean, coming from Australia, the cricket over there is very much like golf. It's country club cricket. It's everyone's wearing their whites and their creams, and everything's very professional. But coming to America and playing, man, it was something else. We went down to this area. The area is called Bridgeport. It's in Connecticut. You guys can Google it. If you're from Connecticut or you're from New York, you will know Bridgeport. It is not the safest place in the world. It is not the nicest place in the world, and it was quite an experience. So first of all, in Australia, the fields are very well manicured. There's greenskeepers, or curators. The pitches are very nice, even if it's a synthetic wicket. Generally there's a turf wicket. But going to this field, it's basically a public park with no set boundary. It's clay, and they have this Hessian bag or this Hessian mat they lay over the top and they staple it into the ground. And that was the pitch we were playing on. We were playing against West Indies side, and they had their West Indian barbecue. They're barbecuing. They're all smoking, and I mean in Australia you're not allowed to smoke weed or anything like that, but here it's like legal. So they're all smoking, having a good time. Around the ground, there's low riders driving around, with the revving it up. There's guys with balaclavas on. They're driving across the pitch and with their motorbikes. The motorbikes are literally driving across the field as we're playing cricket. It was a very, very unique experience. That was very interesting. And so I never went back. I didn't go back after that. And I played another game. I don't remember which I played first. I think the first game I played at Clatter Valley Park in New Milford with Nabil, who I do the Reverse Scoop podcast with. We played together. So I said that would have been like 2015 or 2016. We played together there. I played at Clatter Valley. And even that field, like they have a synthetic wicket there, which was nice. Oh, no, they didn't have the synthetic wicket at that time. But the field like has holes in it and stuff, and the grass is really long. But I got to play. Cricket over here. It was fun. And then this would all loop back around. Like I said, I didn't play cricket from then until last year, 2024, where we had the whole USA versus Pakistan. And then I was talking to a mate of mine, and he was like, hey, I got this friend I play cards with sometimes. He's really into cricket. He has a podcast. You should reach out to him and connect with him. And so he showed me his picture, and I was like, hey, I actually know this guy. This is actually Nabil Khan from the Reverse Scoop, which I did the podcast with. So we reconnected, and I did the podcast with him on Mondays. You guys can check out the Reverse Scoop on Spotify, all over YouTube channel, TikTok, whatnot. And I'm there. I did the Monday podcast with him, the Cricket Weekly. And so, reconnected and got out to New Milford to play a couple games. Well, not play some games, but did some batting practice with them. And then ended up buying a bat, and then connecting with the guys here in Danbury, which is my hometown here, and then doing some work for them. I got to play a couple of games last season. And in the final game, I got to play in a 2020, and we had 100 and I was in with a guy. We scored 223-ish runs, I think it was, for the entire team. Me and the other guy, Samantha, we had a partnership of 157. He scored 150. I think he scored 150, 151 on his own. And then I had like 43 or so. And that was a huge total. And something about that game is that I found with the American cricket is quite bizarre that during that game, it got down to the last over again. I didn't check my score. I didn't know how much I had scored. I didn't even think I was even close to 50. And in the final over, there was, I hit 3 ramps, so that they don't feel anyone at final leg. The way they place cricketers here in America is quite bizarre. No one fields at fine leg, which is so bizarre to me. In Australia, there's always a fine leg, but no fine leg. So I was so tired at this point. Just my fitness wasn't that great. Getting back into cricket, I hadn't played for almost 10 years. So before Semi-Conscious did his ramps, I did a few ramps. So I did a ramp. This ball was foot outside off stump. Ramped it down to fine leg for 4. Next ball, I tried to do it again. I got more of the toe. Didn't go all the way for 4, but still ran 2. And then, that's 2 fours in a row. Then the third one hits the toe, gets 2. And then they end up putting someone back there to try to stop the ramp. And then the next ball that I get was an absolute full hot, it was like an absolute beamer, chest high beamer. And I swing, I hit it. It does actually go for 4. I get told, they moved the guy from directly on square leg to fine leg, and I actually put it where he was standing. So I got 4 runs there. And at that point, I'd moved myself to 43 runs, or must have been 42 runs, I guess, at that point. And the guy didn't call me no ball. The umpire didn't give me no ball. We had an official umpire, didn't call a no ball. And I'm spewing at him. I'm like, what do you mean it's not a no ball? That was like at my head, no ball. I call it an audible. Like I swore out loud as the ball was coming to me. And I'm like, mate, that's a no ball. He's like, no, not a no ball. Play on. So now there's 2 balls left. And the next one, I had to swing way too hard, missed that ball. And then the last ball, I think I hit it, and we get a single, and end up on 43. We get off the field, and I go talk to the umpire. I was like, what was the go with that no ball, mate? Like, why didn't you call that a no ball? I missed something there. He goes, I kid you not. He said, you guys had already scored enough runs. You didn't need the extra no ball. Well, it turns out that we did need the extra no ball, because he posted 223, and the opposing team chased it down in 18.4 overs. So we actually did need that extra ball. I needed that free hit, needed the extra run, because it actually would have given me a free hit on the next one. And then I would have, if I got 2 boundaries, I could have scored a 50. So that's the umpiring is in America so far. It's quite different. There's been a couple of, I'm not going to say punch-ups, but like hefty arguments I've seen from both teams coming together, yelling at each other, arguments on rain delays. There was a situation here locally where I wasn't at the game, but it was a semi-final game, and I believe it was the final, and they had to replay the final because it started to rain, and the team that was bowling wanted to basically have the game delayed because the team that was batting was going to win. They'd bowled out the team for a low score. The team that was batting second was really close to winning, and the rain started coming in, slight rain, and so basically the team that was bowling second tried to delay the game so that the 20 overs weren't fully in first and whatever. So they had to play the next game, and they ended up winning. So there's just been some random stuff happening here in the States, which you don't normally see in Australian cricket. I don't remember too many altercations with the umpires. The umpires situation with American cricket and Australian cricket and American baseball is so different. The way that baseballers treat their umpires here is totally out of whack, which is how cricketers can talk to cricket umpires. Because if you did to a baseball umpire, like they do, like if you did to a cricket umpire what they do to baseball, you'd be sanctioned for life. You'd be kicked out of cricket forever. You're not allowed to turn around to the umpire, and yell at him and throw stuff at him and tell him he's done a bad job. That's just not in the rules of cricket. Like cricket is very big on like being professional and the spirit of cricket and always doing things in the right light. And, the umpires are doing a job, and it obviously helps a lot now with the DRS systems and that stuff like that, because it helps the refs be able to, or the umpires, make the right call. But in the local games, you're not going to have the ability for the DRS. So you just have to trust the umpire, and if he gives you out, you're out kind of thing. You just got to take it in. And I'm actually a big walker. I don't know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys are walkers or not walkers. But if there's not an official umpire, and you're relying on your mate or one of your teammates to officiate then if you're going to nick, you just got to walk, because it's not fair for the other team to have the bias there, especially when it's your teammate umpiring you. So yeah, then that's basically been a wrap. And then so coming into this year now, I'm hopefully, well, most likely I'll be coaching and like basically having my expertise helping out the local team here, basically helping them out, because they don't have a lot of experience. A lot of the players are kind of new to cricket, and they do need some guidance, and that's really where I'm able to shine and help out with technique, bowling technique, batting technique, strategy around winning the game, in doing certain things in situations. Because what I find here with the 2020 cricket is everyone hits the ball in the air, everyone's slashing at everything, and if you want to win a game, sometimes you just can't afford to be slashing at everything, especially once you get past the power play and guys are out there in the deep. So yeah, that's what's coming up, and hopefully we can have videographers to be out there, and I can get camera gear. There is a company, NinjaCast. They record. It's a recording plus uploading broadcasting system where you can bring it to the game, plug in the camera, has the built-in Wi-Fi, has the built-in streaming capability. It streams to YouTube right away. So hopefully I'll be able to have that technology, plug it in, so I have my games recorded, and then maybe do some commentary at some of these games too. So hopefully I might be able to get to New York for a few games where they have some of the more high-profile players, and doing some commentary them. I was able to do one commentary last year that's on YouTube at the New Milford Cricket Club on NinjaCast. They had the equipment there for me to commentate, so I spent half the day, or basically a whole day, commentating. They really enjoyed that, because they just normally have the feed running without a commentator. So that's really what my goal is to be commentating, being on the USA commentary team for the Olympics in 2028. And that's something that I've really enjoyed doing during the World Cup and during the MLC, is commentating on the games, live on TikTok, and then having the Discord where I could jump in there and kind of teach people how to play and what everything is. And that's really what I really enjoy, because like I said, not a lot of people here are born with a bat in their hand and know how to play and know the ins and outs of the game, especially here in America. Obviously in Australia, England, some of the bigger nations, kind of everyone kind of has that knowledge on how to play and what's going on, all the positions and what's happening when the bowler changes position or changes a different ball or bowls a different ball. But in America, the knowledge that I have is quite valuable to the people that are learning, because most people here just don't know, and so that's really cool to be able to help the USA people learn about cricket. So yeah, that's kind of how I got to here. And then while we're here, we're going to talk about Champions Trophy coming up. So Champions Trophy is coming up, and I have here the rundown and the predictions for this tournament. So it's we're just gonna run through the whole thing. So these are my predictions for Champions Trophy. We're gonna go through every game, telling you who's winning which game, and then who the final is and who's gonna be the big winner at the end. So first game of Champions Trophy, we have New Zealand versus Pakistan. I am giving New Zealand the win here. I think New Zealand is a big dark horse in this tournament. Obviously, Pakistan, they are playing quite well at the moment, but New Zealand and Pakistan, they're really going to be fighting hard. It's going to be a really good game. I really think New Zealand is going to be able to beat them. They've won a couple of games against them recently in the past couple of months, so I'm giving it to New Zealand game 1. Game 2, we're coming into Champions Trophy. India versus Bangladesh, giving it to India, obviously, even without Bumrah. I think they get the job done over Bangladesh. Afghanistan, South Africa, game 3. That is going to Afghanistan. Afghanistan and South Africa have played a lot of series. They've played a lot of cricket together since the World Cup. They've played an ODI series. They've played a T20 series. I really feel like Afghanistan is able to take down South Africa. South Africa have lost They've lost a couple of their last ODI matches in this tri-series against Pakistan and New Zealand. So giving the win there to Afghanistan. Again, they're another dark horse, another name to be reckoned with in the ODI format. Australia versus England, giving the win to Australia. Well, I technically, during this, when I first wrote this down, I'd given the win to Australia. But now I'm going to change my mind, because I'm going to go with England. I'm going to say England over Australia, because like I said earlier in the podcast, if you guys missed it, be watching the live on TikTok. I'm not allowed to talk about Australian cricket without criticizing them. Cricket Australia came after me. They sanctioned me with 33 copyright strikes, but I am allowed to criticize them. That is part of copyright and law, the copyright law. I can criticize them. So the Australian cricket team is doing a terrible job in their selections. They're playing terrible. They just got smashed by Sri Lanka in the ODIs. They're nothing without Mitchell Starc. I think Mitchell Starc is the GOAT of the shorter form cricket when it comes to bowling and breaking partnerships. Big shout out to Starkey, big fan. He's a big friend of the family. My cousin played cricket with him over at West's. So big shout out to Starkey. He isn't playing. He's off with personal reasons, and that really could just be Cummins is out with personal reasons. Hazelwood's out for his injury with his ankle or shoulder or whatever, but pretty much they're saving themselves for the IPL. That's what we can all read between the lines here with all those people tuning out. And the ODI Australian team right now is looking absolute trash. So I think England's actually going to beat Australia there. Game 5, India versus Pakistan, giving the win to India over there. This game will be played not in Pakistan, it'll be played over in Dubai, but I still think India will beat Pakistan. That is going to be one of the biggest games ever. There's going to be one of the most viewed sporting events ever. I would not be surprised if they get 400,000, 500,000 views to that game. They got 400,000 views for their T20 fixture in the World Cup here in the USA. You know, India, the World Cup, in the ODI World Cup last year got 300 million views. So India versus Pakistan, it's the biggest game on the planet. I wouldn't be surprised if they get close to 500 million, 500 million views for that game. So, but I'm giving the win to India. New Zealand versus Bangladesh, we're giving the win to New Zealand. Like I said, New Zealand, I think, is a real dark horse and a real big shot to win this thing. They're playing good cricket right now. South Africa versus Australia, giving the win to South Africa. I think South Africa are a really good side. Bavuma at top of the order is doing very well. He had an unfortunate run out the other day. I think Australia, like I said, are absolute trash. They're nothing without Starc. Batting is terrible. I can only criticize them. I can't say good things about them. So South Africa is going to, it's the first time ever in my life I will ever be cheering for South Africa. If you guys followed my coverage during the World Cup, I was adamant that South Africa would not win the World Cup, and South Africa was getting through on tight chances and lucky escapes and weren't going to win the World Cup, and that came true. I was really hoping that Team USA could knock them off, that they became very, very close but didn't. But I say South Africa beats Australia. Then we go Game 8, Afghanistan over England. I believe England, for some reason, is not playing good ODI cricket right now. They've just got whitewashed pretty much by India. India is just taking them to the cleaners. Not sure what's going on there. But like I said, Afghanistan playing very good cricket right now. I think they knocked over England. Pakistan versus Bangladesh, Game 9. Pakistan beat Bangladesh. I don't see Bangladesh winning a game here. Afghanistan versus Australia. I have Afghanistan beating Australia again, just like they did during the T20 World Cup. Mitchell Starc will not be there in the team. Therefore, they're not going to be able to get out the two openers. Therefore, the Afghanistan are going to put on a lot of runs. I want to see a big 350 total from Afghanistan batting first against Australia. That's what I'd love to see. If Australia bats first, I'm going to see Rashid Khan. I want to see him take 5-6 wickets. I want to see him absolutely decimate the Australian lineup. The Australians can't play spin. They can't play anything. They're going to Afghanistan will roll through them. And, Australia will lose. That kind of at this point looks like Australia doesn't even win a game. So Afghanistan over Australia. South Africa versus England. I give that to South Africa. Like I said, South Africa is playing very well. They've just had a couple of close losses. They've been able to put up some big scores, but haven't really been able to seal the deal with their bowling and the death. So I still think South Africa will beat England. Then my hottest take of the whole tournament is New Zealand will beat India. New Zealand will beat India. This is the hottest take of the tournament. My prediction, my big prediction for this tournament. I know people aren't going to like this take. It's a hot take. My big prediction is New Zealand win over India in the 12th round or the 12th game. India lose to New Zealand. So that how the standings would look at this point. It would mean that in Group A, I have New Zealand winning all 3 games. I have India going 2-1, losing to New Zealand. Then I have Pakistan going 1-2, and I have Bangladesh going 0-3. So moving on will be New Zealand and India from Group A. In Group B, I have Afghanistan winning 3 games, no losses. I have South Africa going 2-1. And then it would look like Australia would go 1-1. Or that might go, no, that Australia would go 3-0. And England were going to go 1-2. England goes 1-2. Australia going to lose all their games because I'm going to be cheering against Australia. We'll never be cheering for Australia again. We're going only criticizing Australia. And yeah, so that's going to be Afghanistan and South Africa moving forward from Group B, which I believe that would set up New Zealand versus South Africa and Afghanistan versus India. So another Afghanistan versus India semifinal. I think India probably beats Afghanistan. So that, and then India would go to the final, and then New Zealand versus South Africa. New Zealand has beaten South Africa in the recent series, so I think New Zealand actually beats South Africa, putting together a New Zealand-India final in Abu Dhabi or Dubai, wherever it's going to be held. That is my prediction of the final. And who's going to win? I think New Zealand can win. I think I've already picked New Zealand to beat India in round 12. Even if New Zealand doesn't beat India in round 12, it probably means they're going to go up against Afghanistan. I think Afghanistan versus New Zealand could... if out Afghanistan versus New Zealand, I may have to go for Afghanistan. I may think Afghanistan might win. That's going to be tight. But I think the way that I predicted it will end up being New Zealand, India for the final. And even though they're in the same pool, I think they'll win the way that it's structured, the way that I've mapped it out. I have New Zealand to win. That's my big thing over there. In the chat here on TikTok, never underestimate an Aussie. Yes. So thank you for your comment. If you're just tuning in, we're going to reiterate that, yeah, Cricket Australia come after me. I'm only allowed to criticize them legally, so I'm going to say their team's terrible, and there's no way they're going to come back, and they're going to lose every game. They're going to lose every game. So, yeah, I mean, without a full strength Australian side, there's no way they're going to win. Absolutely no way. There's not a chance. Sri Lanka. Let's put it this way: Sri Lanka isn't playing Champions Trophy, which means Sri Lanka is what, the 9th ranked. Well, the 10th must be the 9th ranked ODI side right now. And if the 9th ranked ODI side bowls you out for less than 150 twice, I'm pretty sure every other nation that's above 9 is going to do the same thing. I don't see Australia posting more than 200 runs at any of these games. I see them getting absolutely rolled. Absolutely rolled. So that's my prediction for Champions Trophy. If you're in the chat right now, you have any questions or any predictions or anything you want to tune in now before we wrap up the pod. But yeah, guys, that is the pod. That's going to be pretty much it. We've just ticked over an hour. This is episode 1. Proceeding this episode, we have Charlie Cookie Cook. Charlie Cook it's just Charlie Cookie. You're going to know him from TikTok, Instagram. One of the best out there when it comes to cricket takes. That is like I said, I mentioned it in the podcast with him. He has a lot of hot takes. He's very accurate with his predictions. He talks very well about cricket, and he's very good at being able to, he covers everything. He covers all the cricket. I talk about it in the podcast. It's as if he has 6 televisions in his lounge room, and he's watching them all at the same time. But no, he's very good at covering cricket, very good at analyzing the cricket, and very good with his predictions. He was able to predict Pakistan getting beaten by USA during the World Cup. So we talk about a whole bunch of stuff. We talk about a little bit about his personal life. He's got a kid, how he got into cricket, talk about what's going on in England, different sports over in England, and then get into some hot takes around baseball and Ashes and that kind of thing. And it's going to be great working with him more and talking with him more and doing more content with him leading up to the Ashes this year. Because, this year I'm not going to be cheering on Australia. I guess I'll have to be covering the cricket, but I have to be smart in the way that I cover the cricket. Like I said, so in the chat, what can you say about it? So the problem is that, Cricket Australia hit me with a bunch of 33 copyright strikes. For my coverage. They didn't like my coverage of the Border Gavaskar Trophy. So from now on, I only will openly criticize them, because for copyright law, allows you to criticize someone's work, and they can't file a copyright claim against you for criticizing or doing a parody. So the only things I'll be doing, I'll be making parodies, making fun of. So yeah, I won't just be covering or commentating on the game. So in the chat now, we have some of the TikTok giving their predictions over here. Will Afghanistan make semifinals? Yes. For Afghanistan, I have them making the semifinals. I have Afghanistan winning 3-0, winning all their games. I said beat India 3-2. There you go. So yeah, that's my prediction for just to catch you back up, the guys that are on TikTok, is that I have New Zealand will beat India, that game 12. I have New Zealand and India will move through from Group A. I have Afghanistan and South Africa will move through from Group B. And the final, the way that it actually might shake out, I think India will beat Afghanistan if it works out that way. New Zealand beats South Africa. The final will actually be New Zealand, India, and New Zealand will be the winners. So yeah, that's it. So that's going to be this episode. Next episode I said is going to be Charlie, and then we have I guess I can release the rest of the podcasters. So Charlie's going to be the next episode. Then we have episode 3, because this is episode 1, Charlie's episode 2. I believe episode 3 will be She is Floyd, USA MLC cricket host. She will be on episode 3. Then we have Umpire 86 coming in for episode 4. JT, your favorite cricket umpire, ladies and gentlemen. Is it out? Is it not out? He will be on the pod. We have, who else do we have? We have Colorblind Cricket. We have Andrew from Colorblind Cricket on the pod. Previous cricket analyst over there in England. He's on the pod, another content creator. And Dan Jads is also pre-recorded on the pod. He'll be coming up. He will be episode 6. And we have much, much more. Many, many more content creators will be on the pod. I'll be booking them in the next couple of days. Champions Trophy coverage will be happening on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. I'll be doing pre-match predictions and wrap videos for each of the games. So make sure you stay tuned to those. And yeah, stay in the links below. I'm sure there'll be links to the new membership site I mentioned during the podcast. Feel free to join if you want to support the channel, the membership. Inside that community, you'll help build the podcast out. You'll be part of the discussion topics, getting a segment on the podcast, and even being on the show. So this podcast was just me. The podcasts coming up are going to be dual screen. You'll have 2 people. It'll be back and forth discussion with the next people. So yeah, thank you everyone for being here. Thanks for tuning in to episode 1 of the Adam Bannon Cricket Podcast. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.